So we strike again. Hey, it's James, otherwise known as Escape Punk Lefty, back here with another video. And today we are going to be seeing about, I did not watch this video, I have no context for it, but the title kind of got my attention, this quote unquote incel revolution thing. And since the next couple of videos we're going to do is going to be talking about topics in relationship advice, I thought that this would be an interesting video to cover because it's kind of ignorant slop like this that gets people into right-wing politics by playing on people's insecurity and negative impulses, especially preying on men about the opposite sex or people who are not heteronormative. So my point being is just that what's crazy about this video topic and going over it the way that, you know, and seeing it the way that I'm seeing it, like this, is that these people are always talking about how left-wing people and liberals are always playing the victim card and how we cannot just be better people, but we need the world to change forward when we speaking about things like bad social norms or systemic inequality. But these are the same people who simply can't date somebody or who can't find a loved one, and instead of becoming better men, they decide society has to change and lower its standards for them. Let's see. This guy's a crank. He's very kooky. He says a lot of ignorant slop. He's one of those people who says a bunch of things that have no detail behind it. So what I'm saying is basically this. So me, James, I say a lot of things that have actual research on a social or economic level behind it. Like if I say, for instance, like black people commit crime because they live in poverty, there's actual studies to show that there's poverty, crime, intermingle with one another's, even in the white communities and stuff like that. There's history and data behind the things that I say. This dude is one of those people who just says a bunch of big words. He claims to be smart, but when you really listen to him, none of it he says makes sense. And I can't believe when I was a teenager I used to be subscribed to this guy and I thought he was some semblance of intelligence. But I mean, I guess we all we get older, we get more mature, we want more mature content streamers.
Topic is one of the most taboo in all of society. Most people won't discuss it, or even think about it, since they don't want to deal with the immense social shaming that comes from it. As a person who studies history, you tend to see that we're incredibly ruthless to previous eras of history. That being said, every era of history thinks they're in the right, and they always do something wrong in a major way. Thus, it goes without saying that
this is so far some semblance of truth.
We're doing the same thing since every society does so. The human mind projects, and thus a society which hates its ancestors really hates itself. That being
no. See, here we go already. See, when people are criticizing people like Christopher Columbus and others, it's not because people hate themselves. It's because we can retroactively look back on the things that happened in history and we can disagree with it and even feel disgusted by things that happened in the past. As human beings, we're always looking forward to improving ourselves and improving the way that we think, not regressing and worshiping eras of history that had caused so much malice and harm to other people. That's the point of people not liking the statues, whether it be from the colonial, the colonialist, or from the Confederacy. It's supposed to be growing and being better as humans.
Said, someone needs to discuss the elephant in the room. As my father said growing up to me, if no one in the room is doing the right thing, that makes it your duty. I sincerely believe that the issues in modern dating are so horrible that they will cause a revolution in the next few years. For people new to my channel, that may...
What do you mean by that? So, this seems to be a projection on his part because this guy can't find a girlfriend or a wife, and instead of, again, self-improving and becoming a better man, he's going to talk about how the world needs to change and how we need violent revolution to get women back in line. Is that going to be the thesis of this video, bro? Are you like unironically selling this BS to people instead of giving them real advice? And shit like this, bro, I hate to curse, but yeah, shit like this is how Trump won the election, where instead of male role models being about being classier, being honest, being strong, looking out for others, defending the weak, honesty, being hardworking for your family. We got clowns talking about how it needs to be a revolution in order for men to be able to date because the dating climate is so bad. What? Okay, dude.
You sound insane, but I believe it unironically. I've made several videos talking about why I believe America, and I would say the Western world in general, is on the verge of what I've called at different points a civil war, revolution, or right-wing...
It's not gonna happen.
...backlash. What I'm doing here is
we are already dealing with right-wing backlash and reactionary politics, but it's not because people are dissatisfied with liberalism in the sense that they don't have or like liberal ideals. Is because of economic and social inequality is what's causing so much tension. And it's people, maybe some among us, that instead of selling practical good solutions like more left-leaning economic and social views, you have the majority of money interests, because of course they're protecting their own interests, going towards selling hatred, bigotry, misanthropy, and redirecting our problems towards women and minorities, instead of speaking about how different social standards or how different economic situation leads to disparities for other people. And that's why you see a lot of right-wing backlash. And a lot of it is manufactured from videos like this, where, again, instead of my previous video, you have people giving real dating advice about what's actually going on in the world and talking about how they can be better men. You got a bunch of, Jack pretty much promoting, we need to have a revolution and everything's women's fault.
To tease out the different threads which can explain a unique historic event, which we'll only fully understand once it's occurred, as I believe it will. The purpose of this video is to tease out what I've said before is the biggest crisis of our time, in my opinion, and the most important variable driving this revolution, the young male dating crisis. Why are we waiting? Just rationalizes whatever their emotional state is. Thus, when you're seeing someone say something, in most cases, it's just a rationalization of what's inside their self-interest to believe. This is obviously true for the left in general today, which is philosophically literally said that logical consistency is white male oppression.
Nobody says that. Like, how did we even get here, bro? Because I think I skipped too far past the intro. Okay, maybe I skipped too far past the intro.
It's an all safe.
I need to turn this up. I can't hear him really.
Part 1. The taboo topic. People are not rational. From studies, we've found that 90% of the population just rationalizes whatever their emotional state is. Thus, when you're seeing someone say something, in most cases, it's just a rationalization of what's inside their self-interest to believe. This is obviously true for the left in general today, which is philosophically literally said that logical consistency is white male oppression.
This blows my mind when they do this, because this is white supremacist propaganda. And I'm going to let you know, as a leftist right here, a black leftist, a black socialist, that I care about the plight of working class white men as much as I do working class people of color. And actual working class, leftists, if you speak to them, you speak about the, the economic ills and the social deprivation that white males deal with, we want to actually solve and alleviate those problems. And you can ask us policies or our social views on these matters to say if we want to fix them or not. This reminds me of back in my Gothics video when I made fun of her, where she said that people don't care when white men are unalived by the police. But I'm like, no, I would still say ACAB 1312, where the unarmed white person is unalived by the police, as well as a black person or any other race, because the police are dangerous to all Americans because the state that they exist in. So this is nonsense that they try to sell people, that nobody wants to talk about the ills that white people deal with. Why, at the end of the day, life might be a little easier for you when you're white. It's also noted that every white person that grows up in the suburbs or that grows out in the sticks are not people that are having the easiest life, thanks to capitalism and other social expectations placed on white people, especially white men. So nobody thinks like this. Nobody.
and whoever is in power gets to determine what's true. In general, a good way to determine if someone is actually making an argument or rationalizing is based on if they use supporting evidence in their claim.
Which he won't
if they
do
don't
in this
actually
video.
have an argument against you, they don't follow a causal chain of logic or have blatant inconsistencies in their
Which he will not do in this video.
argument. We've found through studies where John Haidt is the greatest expert on this topic, and I believe him to be one of the best thinkers of our time, has done a tremendous amount of research on human nature, and everything I've said in the previous paragraph is from his work. He's also found that it's very hard to be rational about things which affect us personally. We tend to be decently good at analyzing the reality of problems of which we don't have a personal stake, but once you get closer, people can become intensely biased as their thoughts and words become excuses for their self-interest.
This is true, but not for the reason he probably wants to use it for. It's true that when you looking at a problem from the outside, like you are, like, let's say like this, bro, the people who research things like crime, poverty, loneliness and stuff like that, you know, if you're, because it's like me doing my research on this now, looking at it in hindsight, being a married man and thinking about inceldom and loneliness, it's a lot easier to do and think about everything that I experienced and went through in the past, or that other men could possibly be experienced married, than it would be single. Because when you're single and when you're lonely and when you're angry, you quickly react to the world around you and you don't try to rationalize the thing that you're going through. Because it's true, while it's true that a lot of men are going through a loneliness epidemic, it's also true that a lot of women are going through it as well. But a lot of these people wouldn't accept that, and they would say that women are OnlyFans models or whatever else the hell that they will like shrub together to make arguments about why women shouldn't be able to vote. My point being is just that point being is that this is partially true, you know, but I don't think he's going to use this for argument for a good reason. But it's true in the sense that a lot of people, when they are closer to an argument, they will or a problem, they will react to the problem rather than break it down and research why they're experiencing a problem. And I can say that as somebody that was experiencing inceldom between the ages of, I would say, my teen years up to my early 20s, which is, I think, normal. Well, for most of us anyway.
As a tangent, one of the things which annoys me is that people appeal to authenticity, or this emotionally feels right, thus it's moral and good, as if emotions are an arbiter of underlying goodness or truth. That being said, your emotions are a mammal brain manifestation of your genetic self-interest.
Are we doing facts don't care about their feelings? If people like What If Aught His actually believe this shit, there would be like 3 right-wing pundits on the planet. Everything that these people say and believe is emotional knee-jerk reaction to things that are not happening. Let's say we talk about any subject and you actually do research into the problems or into the things that they claim happen, you will start to see that none of it rationalizes out according to the data. And that's anything. There's trans rights, that's dating and marriage and sex, that's race relations. When you actually research things and you actually get all the details about what's going on in society, also applies to immigration, you start to see that things aren't borne out. But then they'll say it's fake data, and if you go far to the right enough, they'll say it's let's say 6-point star data. So these people don't actually believe facts don't care about your feelings, when all their arguments about why the world should be a certain way are emotional knee-jerk reactions to the realities that we live in.
Your emotions are a lower resolution, more primal version of logic, which involves getting what you want. You'll find that people who are guided by their emotions are intensely selfish, confusingly often being selfless as a form of selfishness, as a way for emotional stability or to look better socially. The reason I'm going through all of this is that this is the topic our society is capable of handling the least rationally. I'll see most people just break down into complete emotion about this subject. People very quickly lose their ability to be objective. I believe this is true, as mating is probably the most important thing in human life. Thus we get very wrapped up in it. You will probably have a lot of emotions watching this video, and that's normal, but you need to take a deep breath, think about what I'm actually saying, not what it seems like I'm saying, and whether or not it's true. Whenever anyone brings up this topic, they get immediately called an incel. First of all, as you'll get to later, this is a terrible argument.
Nobody says that. You know, everybody knows this epidemic is a problem, or this pandemic pretty much. But the problem is that when people bring up male loneliness, usually 90% of the time, especially if it's not a liberal or left-leaning person, is bringing it up in a context to subvert women's rights, or make arguments for maintaining the status quo, or to quote-unquote make America great again. So blacks are second-class citizens and women are second-class citizens and white men have all the power. That's why people don't take y'all seriously when y'all bring this shit up. It's not because people don't want to fix the problem or are not sad or hurt by the problem. I personally experienced the problem up into my early 20s, so I know what it's like to be out here. But instead of rational explanations and real dating advice about how to become a better man, y'all teach people that reason why society is the way that it is because the advancement in women's rights. You know, and we may or may not get to there in this video. I might skip around and see. But all these podcasters and people that talk about male loneliness, from Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, you know, the whole Daily Wire crew, Andrew Tate, even people like Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk, they make arguments for subverting the progress that we made in society instead of men becoming better people themselves. And the same can go for those whiny cowards on Fresh and Fit. That's why people don't take it seriously when y'all bring it up. It's not because this is not a serious problem. And, you know, and me, as I did in my last video, which was nearly 40 minutes long, hopefully this one won't be that long too. You know, you want to rationalize, you want to help people with these problems, but before they find somebody like me that's actually going to help them become a better man, they find people like you teaching them that, well, feminists really don't care about men being poor, so I don't really think that's the right way. And Ephesians says that when you don't care, see, people like you and all the rest of those motherfuckers I named are the reasons why, you know, people make fun of right-wing people like What If Art Hist when he, you know, when he brings it up. It is not because we don't want to fix the problem. It's the context and way of which they bring everything up. It's never in a way of wanting to solve a problem and make the world a better place. It's always kicking down people who are already down.
On any single level. If you said this in a debate in a sane society, you'd get laughed out of the room. A further irony is I get this a lot whenever I talk about this topic. You people know nothing about my personal life, and if you did, you would realize it's absolutely insane to say this about me.
I mean, we can, number one, bro, I'm not going to say nothing about your appearance because I ain't trying to be on no bullshit. I'm here for the intellectual arguments. And the thing about it is that people, when they make videos about certain topics, and then from what we've told about you, bro, because the way that you dress yourself, the way that you take pictures and stuff like that, the way that you make videos, the subculture that you're participating in and stuff like that, and the way that you even talk and pronounce yourself and stuff like that, despite probably making a few $100,000 a year or 10, 20, whatever, you know, $50,000, $80,000 a year off your YouTube channel, because I'm not sure how big it is, you still can't find a woman. So you have adopted a lot of right-wing talking points about the problems that we deal with in society. To the point where you even made a video over like a year or 2 years ago talking about how the left is like anti-civil rights or something like that. I can't remember it. I was supposed to do a two-parter, but the video was so long and full of shit that I didn't even get through the whole thing. So yeah, people that make videos like this on a regular, I used to make videos like this talking about you know, dating from a right-wing perspective are usually people who are very lonely. And that's not the part that's wrong about it. If you're lonely, that's fine, but actually come on here and look for advice or find real conclusions about the problems that you're dealing with. Stop, you know, going with the right-wing conclusion, civil war and all this other shit with how to fix this problem.
People use this photo of me from high school to mock me, but I also used to look like this when I was in better shape, and now I look like this. Well, I've been on keto for over a month to get into better shape now. There is a barrier between YouTubers and their audience for obvious reasons, which means you guys really know very little about me. I know me doing this here is incredibly petty, But the thing is, I'm responding...
and even people that are successful in dating and finding interpersonal relationships and have a modicum of financial success can make videos like this because they're grifting to the right. Because they want to make money off people misanthropic and antagonistic political views and tell bigoted people what they want to hear and rationalize people's hatred and need for society to regress. So even if you not really quote unquote ugly, or you quote unquote get women, you quote unquote have wealth and stuff like that, does not mean that there's not other incentives to make these kind of videos. While, you know, other people might, because like I said, I don't know which one it is. It could either be A, that you just a person who haven't been able to find nobody special, or B, you're just grifting. But it doesn't matter, because the content that you're making probably leads people to bad conclusions.
To something even more petty, and I need to debunk this line of argument, since otherwise it will clog up the entire discourse around this video. If you're a decent person watching this, I apologize. A lot of people think I'm some nerd dwelling in my parents' basement, but this channel is actually a pretty complex business that I make decent money off, where this is my full-time job. I have a team which works for me.
But not even to mention the fact that just because you make a lot of money does not necessarily mean that you will find a wife or a girlfriend too. That's another thing, because if this dude is making these videos because he can't find a wife or a girlfriend, it could be internalized interpersonal problems and not necessarily because he's an unsuccessful man. You know, I would never say that about nobody, you know, but people, you know, talk about you like that is probably, again, because of what you require from society. So dating is easier for men, and I hope we get there soon.
I live in my own house. I make over 6 figures a year. I drive an Audi, and I'm 6'4" tall. I have a large social network, have founded 8 different social clubs, including one.
He had to throw in a picture of him playing with women.
One for professional influencers at one point. I'm pretty satisfied with my romantic
Hey man, I'm sorry to say it, but it's low-key kind of insecure you to post all these pictures and go through all this just say that you're a successful person. And again, you know, and then not to mention the fact, being a successful person does not mean that you're a happy person, bro. I'm not trying to be one of those people, because I try not to make fun of people on those grounds, because people used to do it to me back when I was younger. But it's like, just because, again, you're successful when it comes to your money and you know, doing good in life, does not necessarily mean that you know, your interpersonal interactions with women are the most successful. Because keep in mind, I'm not gonna say I was on his level, but I had a decent job. I done had lots of decent jobs and stuff like that. And you know, I've dressed myself well, I shaved, I showered, but I was still ignorant and regressive, and that stopped me from finding a partner for a long time. So just because you're a successful man does not mean you are going to be socially successful, and you can still have these same insecurities and backwards views, even if you interact with people and stuff like that, you know, and even if you're successful. I can't stress that enough.
Options right now, and I'm just not an incel. Again, I apologize for the egregious bragging.
I got a lot of options right now, and I'm not an incel.
But if I don't do this video will just devolve into people calling me a loser without a real argument. The reason I care about this topic is that as a young man...
I mean, a good argument for that too. Y'all remember local piece of shit Elliot Rogers, who did that to those people in Isla Vista, California? He drove a BMW. He had a barber. He had expensive clothes. But he was a bad person. So just because you're successful, again, does not necessarily translate to you being socially successful. And then, what if his is the type of motherfucker that he'd be like women only like bad guys without jobs and stuff like that. They don't want men with actual success and prospects.
And I see this issue hurting my people in a horrible way. I care about my fellow young men, and as you'll see later in this video, the whole society. I know hundreds of young men, and almost to a man, they complain about this issue being completely unbearable. I'm generally satisfied in my life now, and I made the choice that now that my needs are met, I want to help my people and community with their issues. Furthermore,
We'll see about that.
More, I don't think people realize how insane the line of argument is you care about a social issue which affects part of the population, thus you're a loser. It's the equivalent of how in the Middle Ages,
I mean, y'all say the same about everybody else. Didn't I say that at the beginning of the video? It's kind of your own arguments being thrown back at you, unironically, because y'all are the same people that see a white person that cares about the black community, that's like pro Black Lives Matter, and y'all would say that that white person hates themselves and they hate white people. So y'all don't get to do this, bro. And if people are saying that to you, it's again because the conclusions that you come to, and it's not about if you're actually trying to talk about this issue. There's nothing wrong with talking about this issue, but it depends on where you come from about the issue.
if you said the peasants were starving, the society would tell you that you're poor and shameful for that. It also
Y'all do that too. When you talk about anybody, I'm not getting this from here, bro. I'm about to end this video because I don't got all day. And it's like at the same time, bro, stop whining, dog. Because y'all are the same motherfuckers, bro. When we talk about any socioeconomic issue, y'all whine and say that we're treating people like or playing victim. When we talk about black civil rights, you're making black people victims. When we talk about women's rights, you're making women victims. There is nothing in the law that says that women can't do this, that, and the other. When we talk about LGBT issues, there's no laws against being gay. You could just be gay, just don't push it on me. All the shit that y'all talk. People are poor and they need financial restitution from the government because people are struggling now, especially the working class and the extremely poor. Those people just need to work harder. Back when I was a kid, I worked 3 jobs to start my business, so there's no reason why people should be poor. Stop being a victim. Y'all motherfuckers do nothing but call people victims and shit like that. But on a subject where money and wealth and looks can't really fix anything for you, or being white can't fix anything for you, it's all of a sudden this travesty that nobody should make fun of you for. And while at the same time, I don't agree with making fun of people about dealing with loneliness, but it's funny that on every other subject, y'all will call people victims, but now all of a sudden, y'all need some help and we shouldn't look down on others.
Also betrays a complete lack of empathy or an inability to have any curiosity about someone else's issue. In fact, this line of argument just proves the incels.
Okay, this is just gonna all be one. I done argued with this like way too many times, bro. I done argued with it. See, where's part 2 at? I'm not gonna keep arguing the same argument over and over again.
Realized that our worldview is incorrect. Part 2, the greatest crisis of our time. 1/3 of men under 30 are virgins. 1/3 of men under 30 have had no sex in the last year either. Something like half of young men.
You wanna know why I say this, bro? At the end of the day, they do say sex and dating somebody does add to happiness. But I kind of feel like we focus as a society too much on sex. And we tag along with people that forces us to focus on it. And I feel like a lot of young men would be happier if we stop holding up this standard that you need to have sex to be viewed as a man or to be viewed as some modicum of success when it comes to dating and relationships. One thing that we can do as men in general, if you ask me, is just stop making fun of people for being virgins. Like, that's why I don't do that. You notice how I haven't did that this entire video. And other leftists will do that. But I don't do that to people because I've been there before. It sucks, man. And as long as y'all keeping this social standard up where y'all put all this, this money, basically, theoretical money or thought process into sex and how important it is, this is going to matter a lot. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's declining, and there's other reasons why it's declining, which we'll probably get to after he's done saying this. But I think one of the first steps we can make is just stop overvaluing sex and stop trying to force and push people into it. Stop bragging when it happens for you, because it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are all in this world. I'm not gonna say that we are replaceable, but tomorrow ain't promised to you from a virgin, and tomorrow ain't promised to somebody who's having a lot of sex.
And haven't walked up and spoken to a girl in the last year, and something like a quarter of young men have never approached a girl in their lives. 2/3 of young men are single. Well, I think for guys my age, and I'm 22, the numbers are probably around 80%. The thing is that these are the kinds of numbers which people tend to feel sensitive about or cope with. Thus, the real numbers are undoubtedly higher. These numbers are absolutely horrifying. I think are symbolic that there is a serious issue. I hope people can understand why, when I look at this, I see what is likely the most important issue in our society. This is not to say there are not other very serious issues, but reproduction and mating are the most pivotal things in the human condition.
Alright, nigga. Okay. I'm probably gonna skip this part to skip to part 3, but my thesis on this analysis about what's called a loneliness epidemic, to piggyback off what he's saying, because, you know, he hasn't said any causes yet. You know what? I'm gonna give him a chance.
Thus, when you create an issue with them, you're ripping the entire society
apart. Because there are
apart.
real causes.
Something I like to teach older people is that whatever was going on when you were young is no longer the case. You see a similar thing with economics, where baby boomers often can't comprehend how economically bad it is for young people, in that Gen Z today has 90% less spending power than the baby boomers did in their 20s. The world is completely different for reasons I'm going to explain over this video. The biggest mental bottleneck here is that older people don't realize that dating today is no longer reasonable or rational. Things have gotten so skewed that people are acting in incredibly irrational and self-serving ways. The fact that there's an entire branch of data science based around dating, which is incredibly popular, is a sign that we're not in a good place. We have a bunch of metrics which we use to assess when societies have revolutions, but one of the most powerful is the average age of marriage. In every society in which the average age of marriage goes above age 28, there will be a civil war or revolution, as people are designed.
Not necessarily, bro. Not necessarily. Or we can actually do something with the way that we think and our economic culpability to make society an easier place to live in. It doesn't have to always go to going to war. It doesn't have to. There's policies that we can put in place to fix these problems, but we don't. Where's part 3 at, bro? Or is this just him gonna be talking the whole time? Let me see. I'm trying to figure. Cause he's like, it's like, you know, cause I know the arguments that he wants to make, but it's just like he doesn't want to make the arguments, if that makes sense.
This video about, but there are 3 key factors which push dating to be what it is today. The first being the dating apps, which on a systematic level massively destroy the dating balance between men and women. What occurs here is that since it makes it incredibly easy for men to reach women, and women are naturally very picky, is that you end up with horrifying inequality. If Tinder, the biggest dating app, was a country, it would be the second most unequal in the world, behind South Africa and ahead of Venezuela. Tinder also filters for the most shallow thing, looks, and women tend to be even pickier on looks, while things like personality, game, or social class act as equalizers. Thus, what...
I don't really know about that. I heard that it's a lot of things that go into this, and ironically saying this as a person that met their wife. See, people should stop using Tinder, not only as a litmus test for how superficial women are, but you should try other dating apps like Bumble and Hinge, because that's where I met most of my partners on, was Bumble and Hinge. And I got married to the person that I met on Hinge. I met my wife on Hinge. So if you want a dating app where you have to speak about your personality more and communication is more of a key to, you know, meeting somebody, I recommend a dating app, Hinge, because again, that's where I met my wife, and I'm sure a lot of other people can be successful on there as well. In fact, shit, I think I met like 3 women on there as far as like dates that I actually went on, and that's how like actually good Hinge is. The problem with Tinder is it's viewed as a hookup app now, and it's not really an app that's conducive to actual dating and interpersonal relationships. So the only thing you can do is really try other dating apps that are not clogged up with the same mess. That's number 1. Or 2, you know, try not to go to or try to actually, get out there in public and speak to people. But I haven't made a video about that. Wait until I give you advice to do it if you want. But point being is just that it's much more complex than people being superficial or women just having an advantage on these websites, like Tinder. It's kind of like, that thing that I said, instead of improving the world themselves or trying something different, a lot of men would rather have the world change for them, and in a bad way. So if a dating app isn't working for you to find you a partner, you should try other stuff. Don't just stick to swiping on Tinder all day. There's other ways to meet women.
What happens here is the top 10% of men sleep with the top 40% of women. Meanwhile, the bottom 80% of men get basically absolutely nothing from the dating apps, while the top 20% of men gets almost all of the women. This
is simplified. I knew we would get here, bro. Oh my God. What are you talking about? This bullshit ass argument, this like top 20% of men argument. And it's like, bro, you think, and it's so much about this. First of all, both men and women are superficial. A lot of men are superficial, even more so than women. Because a lot of y'all niggas be wanting women that have perfect gym bodies who will accept you for being a basement dwelling, regressive ignoramus. So don't talk to women about being superficial when you got dudes out here who, like I stated in my dating advice videos, who've been wearing the same Reeboks since high school, talking about something they want a woman that hits the gym and who isn't fat. This whole internet culture right now, bro, literally as a man, every single time I get on the internet and I scroll through reels on Instagram, I scroll through Facebook, even in groups and stuff that have nothing to do with dating, I have to hear y'all men or read men bitching or being superficial about things that have nothing to do with them, bro. And I hate to keep cursing in this video, but on some real shit. Instead of improving themselves or being a better person. Because like this shit, top 20% of women are OnlyFans models, and I can't find anybody because I saw a woman twerking on this Instagram reel, and that's what's wrong with society. Instead of, if you want to find a real woman, go out there and put in the work to find you a wife. Stop sitting on the internet bitching about stuff that don't have nothing to do with you. That's step number one, and being not really step number one necessarily. I always think hygiene is step number one, but this like 80-20 shit doesn't make sense to me, bro. Not to mention it's certain shit, like a lot of y'all take bad pictures. A lot of y'all, and it's not even just the bad pictures, like you ugly or some shit. A lot of y'all are just bad people, bro. Look at the voting demographics and shit like that from the past election and shit. How many men voted for Trump? How many men out here are, let's face it, assault apologists who are superficial and ignorant? Like, let's say this, bro. Let's say a woman is like 5'8" and she like weighs 160, right? My wife is a lot smaller than this. Don't give me that shit. Some niggas be like, so that sounds ugly, bro. Ooh, she sounds fat. Like, and then y'all be like, and it's just like, no, she's not fat. She's beautiful. She just has weight on her. She's a woman, so she's softer. No, bro, that's like fat. If my woman doesn't look like she's 17 at 25 and has the body of a fucking 19-year-old, she's fat. How many motherfuckers on the internet, bro, like marathon podcasts saying women ain't shit, women don't have value? How many of y'all motherfuckers are mad that women can get jobs and y'all it's if a woman works, bro, that's a turn off. Let me tell you why. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are it's like so many men are superficial, ignorant, and hyperfixated on the wrong shit, and then they talk about women being hypergamous and complaining about the dumbest shit ever. Because there's certain people that don't believe this. Like, for instance, you want to know how I know women are not hypergamous, is men are the real fucking hypergamous one? Is because I'm that man that thinks women of different sizes, different shapes, different colors are beautiful. A lot of y'all motherfuckers just want skinny white women who will accept your regressive conservative views. And y'all talk about the whole rest of the world being superficial. When, like I said, regularly, every day on the internet, every day, men of all races are complaining about shit that don't have nothing to do with them. Here's a picture of this man sitting next to his wife, and on the right hand side is her best friend. You don't want to do this, bro. That means she doesn't really love you and she's gonna cheat on you with him. Shit like that. Fucking insecurity slop. Like Vosh went over a fucking what do you call that shit? The fucking subreddit where they're talking about something. Well, I just found out that my wife ex was 2 inches taller than me and his penis was 3 inches longer. I feel so insecure. This manufactured consent bullshit. Where y'all and then the worst part about it, how about Nick Fuentes punk ass? Your body, my choice. Where y'all try to swamp men in all together into this category of thinking like you, and then when people don't think like you, even if they're more successful than you in dating, y'all still try to say people are gay or whatever else y'all want to say to justify your regressive ass political and social views and standards that you place on women. You got people, bro, out here, and this is the last example I'll use before I press play, because I hate this argument so much. You have like nerdy and dudes and stuff like that. They are emo and shit. I want a traditional wife that wears cocktail dresses, and that's a waitress or some shit. The dumbest shit possible. The dumbest fucking standards possible, bro. I'm gonna go a little bit longer on this video, but I just don't accept these arguments about women being hypergamous, because when you actually look at and ask men, about their standards and shit like that, this shit starts to ring extremely hollow, and it's hard to take it seriously.
Creates a giant class of dissatisfied men, while most women compete.
And it's not just because of Tinder. How bad this hypergamy argument is, bro. As you go on the internet, some of these people are paid propagandists. Some of these people are really just stupid enough to believe this shit. But I know one thing, as a man that's constantly going on the internet, I see people bitching and complaining and arguing for the social displacement of women. Every day I'm on the internet.
For a small group of men who have no interest in dating them. The second factor, one which I discuss in this video, is that feminism has advocated standards on any level for women. Literally think of any standards you can hold a woman to without being called sexist in modern society. You can't expect...
be a good person. You can hold people to all these same standards and stuff like that. But it's like y'all are not trying to hold people to standards. Y'all are putting people in boxes and trying to force people to be a certain way. And then when that shit backfires on you because you can't find anybody, because you are the person that's being superficial, you want to blame feminism. Here's the sleight of hand right here, bro. This is shit that I was talking about towards the beginning of me going over this video. This is the shit y'all do that keep y'all single. This is pathetic. Because notice again, instead of making the world a better place for himself by himself, or being a better person for himself by himself rather, he's decided to blame feminism and other social equality movements for his own failures or the failures of his audience members. When nobody thinks like this, but it's how out loud you are with it. Because take weight, for instance. That's a good one. A lot of women struggle with their weight, right? And they figure in how they look. Even skinnier women, even women that hit the gym all day. But y'all don't want to fucking talk about it, because it's like this, bro. Let's say, for instance, I don't like fat girls, right? I don't like big girls over like 150 or whatever. I would like the women that I date to be under a certain amount of weight, right? Just do it and don't say it. Just do it and don't say it. Y'all make entire movements of making fun of and putting people down for no reason. Women and minorities. And then when people come at you about it and say, man, you need to, and it's when you talk about things like fat shaming and like that, y'all don't actually care about, because I had a debate about that a few days ago. Y'all don't actually care about fixing the problems and asking why economically and socially and looking at our food industry to see why people are obese and shit. Y'all just want to talk about people. And that's the problem people have a problem with. As a leftist, yes, in America we have an obesity epidemic, but it's not because women are lazy and don't want to go to the gym. Look at the shit that they sell us to eat. Look how much meat America consumes versus other countries. Look at how a Big Mac in America will be illegal to sell in Japan. Look at the amount of food deserts we have. Look at the fact that how it's cheaper to eat junk food like White Castle and McDonald's than it is to eat actual healthy, good cooked meals. Look at how people very little have the time to prepare actual home cooked and good meals. But y'all don't want to talk about shit like that. Y'all just talk about people need to go on diets and lose weight. You know, shit like that is what you're referring to right there. Because y'all motherfuckers can't stop talking about and putting people down.
The woman to be respectful, attractive, take care of the children, not cheat.
For who? For who? Then go look for it. She has to be attractive? No. Because this is what I'm talking about. Women have to be. Women don't have to do shit for you. Most women don't know you. Most women don't care about, you know, you in your little enclave, bro, of life that we all live in. But you put these standards out that all women have to behave a certain way. So when you hear stories about like polygamous relationships or fucking somebody getting cheated on, you apply, you know, this social prescription to all women, and a point behind your social analysis is regression of women's rights. No feminist says you can't have dating standards. But the problem is about how y'all put those standards out there, not as just dating standards that you have personally, but prescriptive social standards for women. And that's the problem that feminists have with y'all. Because y'all can, and you know, to keep it simplified, y'all can't stop talking shit.
On you, not be promiscuous. We have loads of expectations on men in that they're expected to be wealthy, strong, charming, kind, politically safe, and about 30 other things. A study asked women what they wanted out of men, and there turned out to be over 300 different options. Ironically, men, when asked the same question, just said 3 things: that the woman is cute, kind, and interesting. However,
it's because men are superficial, and a lot of us don't have, you know, very analysis and you know, very like top down analysis about the women they want to be, because women have to analyze more, because women have a lot more to lose when it comes to committing to somebody and getting a relationship than a man, so they have more standards.
However, even with all these expectations piled on men, women aren't expected to reciprocate with any effort on their part. Something which my male brain...
Dude, he's literally doing it now. Like, y'all bro, I just said it because he's doing it now. You're doing it now. You're putting up all these standards and expectations on women and saying that they don't apply to men. Like, you're doing the same shit that women do, where you have certain expectations, and sometimes women have more because they have more to lose, and it depends on the woman that you talk to.
Brain has trouble empathizing with, although I know on an evolutionary basis why women are like this, is that telling young women to keep a healthy weight, not be promiscuous, and to not be socially annoying is just objectively good advice.
You can't mind your own damn business. That's what that sounds like to me, where instead of living your life and doing the best that you can, you have to overstep into other people's lives and decide how they live for you. When people don't fucking know you, people have their own lives and individual experiences. If you want a woman that's attractive and not promiscuous and all that other shit, go look for one. There's plenty of them out there. But you want to take away the civil rights or the social equality that women have to do so. And instead of being a better man and going out there, again, looking for a better woman, you want to complain about it, whining about it in 40-minute videos on the internet. If you want a better woman, just go find one. Why does everybody else have to regress for you?
If they want to get a good man. And we constantly do the male equivalent, as I said before. But if you're offended at people saying that stuff, you're just offended by reality. The thing with all of...
Good thing nobody's really offended by you saying that. It's the reason why you're saying that, and it's the reason how you're saying it that causes people to get in your behind about it. Because you're basically saying that society has to socially change for me because I'm less successful at dating and finding interpersonal relationships, which is not fair to everybody else. That we have to regress and stop our progress, where women have to lower their standards because you can't find somebody, because you can't be a better person.
Of this is that women are following the incentive structures provided to them by society. Most social things are, in fact, negotiations between...
That's
between
if this
competing
isn't out of
groups with
context.
differing self-interests. If people are given leverage in a relationship, they will exploit it. For example, the advances in technology allowed mass government oppression in the 20th century since they could do it. Imagine with automation, you could see employers need employees less, thus creating a disbalance in labor and capital. Thus, employers could effectively treat employees as slaves, since employees don't have the leverage to push back against it. Human nature is very easily fallible, and thus whenever someone doesn't have an incentive to act well, they just won't. What has occurred with a combination...
So what are you saying? That women should have an incentive to act the way that you want them to act?
Of dating apps and feminism is that women never actually have to think about men's needs or wants ever.
What in the is you talking about? What are you on? You know all the shit that women go through in order to impress men? All the makeup, all the fucking hair, all the buying certain clothes, all the going to the gym, all the being polite. Women are polite even when they're dealing with people that are harassing them because they don't want to seem like a bitch and stuff like that. So I don't want to hear this shit, bro. Women go through a lot to impress men, but you just don't see it because you don't care to look for it. You don't care to look for somebody that, you know, that is actually, you know, you just want to look at what you want. You don't want to look at what other people want. You don't look at the effort that other people put in. You think a relationship is basically a man owning a woman, pretty much, is what you're saying here. That would be the inevitable conclusion of what you're saying here. And I know that's extreme, but, you know, pretty much that women don't have to get to have standards and behave the way that they want and live their lives the way that they want. Men do, but women have to circle their whole existence around impressing men. Are you out of your fucking mind? Then talking about some, why am I single? Because look how you view women. You don't view women as human beings with their own interpersonal livelihoods and interactions with the world. You view them as beings that exist for the express purposes of impressing men.
Really in society.
And if any movement criticizes that way of thinking, or if any woman criticizes that way of thinking, that's why men are single and men are the victims. You're crazy. Like, you're extreme and crazy, bro. And I think I'm done here because I want to go skateboarding and I don't really know what to even really say to end this video. I guess, like I said, I don't usually I have something to say, but this video was so stupid and all over the place. I don't have anything to say.